The philosopher Lord Acton once wrote that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. He was right. Congress does not draw to its halls those who love liberty. It draws those who love power. We suffer from that today. After over 200 years of stretching the plain meaning of the words in the Constitution, we now have a Congress that thinks it can write any law, regulate any human activity, and tax any event, no matter what the Constitution says. But the Constitution was written in order to enable it was not written in order to enable the Congress to right every wrong. It was written to define the federal government, to limit its behavior to the 17 specific delegated powers contained in the document, and to leave the remaining power to the states or to the people. Today, the states have lost virtually all their independence to the Congress, which has simply and regularly commanded the states to do the things it wants done, or offers the states money like a bribe to get them to bend to its will. Will we ever have a Congress that respects the states, protects our liberties, and stays within the confines of the Constitution? This past weekend, while I was in Orlando, Florida, a Florida legislator told me that the new federal health care law will force the Florida state government to raise over $1 billion in new taxes and then spend that billion as the federal government demands. How is that constitutional? Joining me now is Walter Williams, economics professor at George Mason University and a regular on Freedom Watch. Professor Williams, always a pleasure. Welcome back.
Good afternoon.
No surprise to you, to most of the people watching us now, and to yours truly, that the health care law basically commandeers the state legislatures, tells them they have to somehow come up with money, and tells them how to spend it. The Constitution, the concept of state sovereignty, the 10th Amendment notwithstanding.
Well, you know, I think that if we had several governors, state governors of large states such as highly populated states such as Florida and Texas, and forget about California, but if we had governors and their state legislatures to actually nullify the laws written by the federal government, because these laws are I mean, they're unconstitutional. And I think one of the things that the American people need to know, and I think they're learning something about the Constitution, as in my column, the constitutional reawakening in our country, and that is they just need to look at the father of the Constitution, James Madison, and read Federalist Paper 45. And in there, he says the powers delegated by the proposed Constitution to the federal government are few and defined.
Wow.
And to be exercised principally on external objects such as war, peace, regulation, and foreign commerce. And the states and the people were to have the rest of it.
Yes,
we've turned this upside down.
Yesterday, Fox had me in one of our chat rooms on one of the live shows called Happy Hour on the Fox Business Network. By the way, the only show that's broadcast live in the United States directly from a bar. But that's another story. And the emailers were asking me what I thought were a lot of good questions, and I threw one out to them. Can any of you come up with any area of human behavior free from federal regulation? Now, I was talking to about 200 or 300 people at the same time, and a lot of them threw some things at me. None was able to come up with an area of human behavior free from federal regulation, notwithstanding what you just said, Madison said, and it's a great quote, Professor, notwithstanding the concept of a limited government, notwithstanding the 9th and 10th Amendments, notwithstanding the whole idea that the government is chained down by the Constitution.
Well, you know what the American people think, and it reflects deep-seated ignorance, or I hope it's ignorance, because ignorance is curable, as opposed to contempt for the Constitution. But the average American and the average politician, they think that whatever Congress can get a majority vote on, they can do it. That is, it depends on the will of the Congress. And we have a derelict Supreme Court that lets them get away with it.
It's repugnant to me that federal judges will just roll over and allow the majority to rule, even though when it's the tyranny of the majority. Now, you referred to a piece you wrote called Constitutional Awakening. You know I read every one of your essays, and I find them fascinating, which is why I'm so happy that you're able to join us on the show. But in this piece, you point something out that a lot of us had not thought of. Why is it that corporations and advocacy groups spend billions lobbying the federal government rather than spending that money on what they are there to do, whether it's to persuade people of their opinion or to produce whatever the corporations are in the business of producing.
Well, you know, I think it's very easy, and I think that all those people say let's get money out of Washington. They're missing the boat. The big thing is power. That is, Congress has such awesome power, life and death power over all of us, and life and death power over businesses, that money flows to Washington to buy some of this power from Congress. And I gave the example of the incandescent bulbs. That is, these incandescent bulbs that we have been using for decades, they're going to be outlawed as of 2014.
Now, why are those bulbs, which everybody knows are inexpensive and easy to get and last a long time, why are they, Professor Williams, about to be outlawed?
Because the environmental wackos have convinced the Congress that they are destroying the planet.
And how have those environmental wackos gone about convincing the Congress that light bulbs that we've used since Thomas Edison invented them are destroying the planet?
That's right. And what happens is that General Electric, a major manufacturer of these compact fluorescent light bulbs, the CFLs, they can't sell these expensive things. And so what they do, they descend on Congress and they pay off these environmental wackos, and to get they know Congress has the power to outlaw these bulbs, and that's what Congress has done. And so now they can sell their squiggly CFL bulbs. And so here's the big problem in our country is that people can buy Congress. People can go to Washington and get Congress to do things that if we did the same thing privately, we go to jail.
This is not an abuse of the First Amendment. This is an abuse of the Constitution, because Congress should not have the power to tell us what kind of light bulbs we have to buy.
That's right. And
they should basically say to General Electric, go take a hike. If you can't sell this thing, then don't manufacture it.
And General Electric's lobbying budget was $25 million last year. And now the point is that there are thousands of these lobby groups in Washington descending on Congress for one favor or another. They're asking Congress to take one person's earnings and give it to them in the form of grants to do studies on poverty and have meetings in winter at the nice hotel in Florida to talk about poor people.
You know what this is? And Madison wrote about this. Jefferson wrote about it. John Locke wrote about it. This is the tyranny of the majority. Yeah. This is whoever controls the government writing whatever laws they want, notwithstanding the guarantees that the Constitution and the Declaration are supposed to provide.
And when you use the term that the Congress is bribing their various states, I would use the term that there's extortion. That is what Congress will tell the states. Let's say they want 55 miles an hour, or they want the alcohol blood level to be 0.8. They'll just say, look, we're going to take your money and we'll give you some of it back if you obey us. That is, we'll give it some of it back in terms of highway construction funds if you obey us. It's just nothing but extortion.
And unfortunately, back to where we started as we conclude our time together, Professor, the Supreme Court has let them do it. And the Supreme Court has found it perfectly lawful for Congress to give away whatever tax dollars it wants and extract in return whatever it wants, even if what it extracts is a violation of the Constitution itself.
You're absolutely right. And I think one of the good things, as I started off the column, I was saying, if there's anything to be good to be said about Democrat control of Washington, it's that they've been so brazen and so extraordinarily brazen in their activities that it has caused Americans to re-examine the Constitution of the United States.
Professor Williams, thanks for joining us on Freedom Watch.
And thank you very much.
You can catch today's show on foxnews.com/Freedom Watch and on Sirius 145, XM 168, or online at foxnewstalk.com at 6 p.m. Eastern on Saturdays. From New York, defending freedom. Until the next time, stay free, America.